In this movie, I'll show you how to add trim marks along with other printer marks. And this is something you'd specifically do if you were submitting a job to a commercial print house. And so here we are looking at that document that includes the 18-point bleed. And so let's say I want to submit this job to a printer. Then I'd go up to the File menu and choose the Print command. Or, of course, you can press Control-P or Command-P on a Mac. And rather than setting the printer to the Office LaserJet right here, I'm going to go ahead and scroll all the way down the list to Adobe PDF, which is the way to go when you're creating a document for a commercial printer. Next, I'm going to turn off the Auto Rotate checkbox because I don't really want my artwork to be sideways. And I'm going to change the media size to custom. And the idea here is that when you submit a job to a commercial printer, it can be any size you like. You're not limited by letter size or A4 size paper. It can be absolutely 100% custom. And so what your printer is going to do is slice the page according to your trim marks. And let me show you what that looks like. The first thing I'm going to do, notice that Illustrator's gone ahead and constrained the size of the page to the exact dimensions of the bleed. What I'm going to do is add 200 points to the width, and then I'll tab over to the height value and add 200 to it as well, in order to give myself a little bit of margin for those print marks. Now I'll select marks and bleeds from this left-hand list in order to bring up the printer marks. And generally speaking, all you need to do is turn on all printers marks. And that way you get the trim marks, the registration marks, which we'll see in a moment. And that helps the printer register the various inks. We also have color bars, these guys right here, which are just there for proofing purposes. And then we've got the page information, which is going to list the name of the document. Now, it's up to you how thick you want your trim marks to be, but generally speaking, a 1/4 point is the way to go. Now I'm going to increase the offset value to 72 points. And what that's going to do, notice as soon as I press the tab key, it's going to go ahead and move those printer marks out beyond the edge of the artboard. And in my case, it's moving at 72 points outside the artboard. And now you can either choose to go with your current bleed settings, or just because we have so much extra artwork, I'm going to turn this checkbox off. And notice that gets rid of the bleed. Notice that we're seeing this dotted boundary tight to the artwork, which is not at all what we want. You want to make sure that you have some kind of bleed. So you can either go with the document bleed settings, which allow 18 points all the way around, which is a 1/4 inch. And you can see now that the artwork extends a little bit beyond that dotted border, or you can dial in your own value. For my part, I'm going to make sure the link icon is turned on, and then I'm going to change any one of these values here to 60 points and press the tab key, and you can see that that moves that bleed way outward. All right, now to get a sense for what this looks like, you want to click on the print button, after which point Illustrator is going to invite you to name this document. I went ahead and called it printermarks.pdf. Now, I'd go ahead and save this in front of you, but it takes a couple of minutes. It's a pretty slow process because this is such an intensive file. So I'm just going to go ahead and cancel out since I've already created this document in advance. And then I'll switch over to Acrobat Pro, where I have the file open, as you can see right here. And what I want you to notice, I'll go ahead and zoom in by pressing Control plus or Command plus on the Mac a couple of times. Notice these guys are the registration marks right here, the ones next to the trim marks. And the trim marks, by the way, are the most important component because they indicate how the page should be trimmed. So we're really looking for the page to be trimmed like so. And that's going to give us a lot of extra margin right there. All right, I'm going to click off that guy in order to make him go away. There are the color bars right there, and they also appear incidentally at the bottom of the artwork. We see these shades of gray. And then up here in the top left corner, if I go ahead and zoom in by once again pressing Control plus a bunch of times, you can see the name of the document as well as today's date, the date I'm recording this, along with the time. And assuming everything looks the way you want it to, then you would go ahead and submit this PDF file to your commercial printer, complete with all trim and printer marks. And that's how you add trim and other printer marks to a camera-ready PDF file that you can then upload to a commercial print house.